Hi all, and welcome everyone to this start of fair discussion about opportunities for startups in governmental and corporate approaches. And I'm Arvydas, innovation partner at Katalista Ventures, and I will be moderator in today's discussion. From our own experience, what I see that corporate and startup partnerships is not an easy thing to do. But if done in a proper way, it might bring fantastic results, actually. And I helped to build these partnerships for more than 8 years already now. And beginning and starting as a head of innovation with one of the biggest banks in Baltics and Nordics, and later on with Katalista Ventures, we worked with very different sectors and sizes of the companies, such as IKA, Electrum, Infobalt, Žalgiris, and even Oracle. And everywhere we had both success stories and lessons we learned, which are very valuable to share, actually. And in that light, today, I'm super happy to welcome 4 participants of this panel discussion who will share their views and visions towards business innovation projects from both organizers and participants' perspective, from public sector and private sector, which is awesome kind of to have this kind of discussion as well here. And what is most important, I would say that they will be able to speak about real examples. So let me introduce the panelists. It's Arūnė, Matelytė, manager of GovTech Lab Lithuania at MITA. Ieva, Žilionienė, deputy director of Lithuania's Communications Regulatory Authority. Sigita, Zulonienė, ecosystem development and startup visa Lithuania program manager. And Paulius, Guzevičius, head of innovation at Vikonda group. So let me start with questions. And everyone who's watching via Facebook, you are more than welcome to ask questions as well, and I will I would like to start with intro questions. So let's start with you, Arūnė. I know that you started a new program recently involving partnerships between public companies and startups, and I'm super eager to hear more. But first of all, maybe I would like to start by you setting the scene in the light of innovation. So how do you see public sector doing today, actually, and what are the trends worldwide, and what GovTech is doing there?
Hi, thanks for having me here. And yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the manager of the GovTech Lab, and GovTech Lab is actually a team in public sector that specifically aims to match those public sector challenges and the challenges that the government have with innovative companies, startups in the ecosystem that have ideas on how to solve these challenges. So I think what we're seeing increasingly is definitely, people are using, especially in the public sector, the word innovation or agile way more than they used before. Of course, most of the time that kind of remains in the strategy papers or just as a buzzword in terms of, those high-level speeches. But I think in terms of specifically kind of the GovTech field and that using those innovative tools, we see that Lithuania has been one of the first ones to kind of set up the GovTech Lab. But the GovTech as a word has been increasingly kind of available for the last 2 to 5 years. And while 2 or 3 years ago when we started, and then when the trend started, we had one team in Scotland and UK that kind of did these things. And now every other week, every other month, we have calls from different countries asking, how did you set up a GovTech team? Can you help us? Can you go us through the process? So I think there's definitely more interest around the world how to use that potential of startups, and kind of more acknowledgement that public sector doesn't have that monopoly of knowledge of how you solve challenges. And I think COVID changed that a bit as well, because you needed the solutions quickly and out-of-the-box solutions. And, where do you turn then to? You turn kind of to the startups and innovators community. And I think that showed that, maybe we can use it in other areas as well, not just with dealing with COVID. So I think that kind of pushed a bit the boundaries of innovation in the public sector.
Okay, thank you, Arūnė. We will definitely come back towards your initiative, actually. But let me also introduce Ieva here and ask a question from her side. So, you are representing a public company here, and, you decided to join initiative with GovTech, so to be kind of, the front runner in public sector and work with startups. So I'm just wondering, so why you decided to do that? and what are your goals here? I mean, and how you're doing in that sphere. So are you still happy that you joined, and how you feel about it? I think that many public sector companies are watching right now and thinking, okay, do I need to do it or not? So it's very valuable to hear it from your side.
Thank you for the question. I'll try to answer it as well as possible. Well, first of all, I think in the public sector, usually we are used to do things in traditional ways. So we have some, let's say, problems, some need. We plan some budget for that. We make a public procurement contest, and we then have a winner, and then we have a solution. But it works usually when you know quite well what you have to do, how much that would cost, and when you do that. But in nowadays situation, I think we have more and more challenges that are not so easy to tackle. And you know that you need something, but you are not really sure that you know the best way to achieve that, especially when you are talking about areas in which technologies are very important. So our interest to go into GovTech Lab initiative, and actually we have not just one and two challenges out of these 10 that we have now in this series, was that we had two interesting challenges, interesting for us as institution, interesting not just for us, but for other similar institutions in other countries as well. And we thought, why not? Why not to be the ones who put these challenges ahead? We say, look, this is a problem. And not just describe in technical specification of public procurement what the company has to do, but to work with some companies, with some startups, to find the best solution for that. So instead of being the clients, as we see as usually, to be co-creators with startups, sharing our knowledge, sharing our expertise, because knowing the topics, but co-working with our selected startups to find the best solution, and hoping not just to have something that we could buy in traditional way, but hopefully to develop products that could be interesting for other countries, for other institutions, and to add something to be proud of for Lithuania.
Okay, nice. I mean, it's super, I'm super happy, flattered, I would say myself, to hear such an innovative way of thinking. Because, in many cases, what I saw as well before that, there were some pragmatic needs. And when we're talking about this public procurement, that maybe we can't do it in that way, so maybe we don't need to do anything. So just, with your example, you're showing that everything is possible and doable. And I hope that, more and more public sector companies will turn to that initiative. And but let me then now introduce another speakers and ask first kind of questions. So let's start with you, Paulius. And, you are head of innovation, and that role in organizations is still quite a new one. I was also head of innovation at one time, so I can feel that role also as well. But, it's always interesting to hear. So what it is about? So what are you doing? What's your role in the organization, and how you help Vikonda to innovate, actually, Paulius? So can you explain a bit about it?
Yes, thank you for having me. Well, I think that overall, most of the Lithuanian organizations, the term innovation is really new, and our organization as well is still developing and understanding what is innovation for them. That is not only another SKU of the product that you have. And I started working here for like 3 years before, and I was like really incompetent what I was like doing at the beginning, because it was still new, not only for me, but for the organization. So the whole culture of innovation in the organization grew up with me together. So, and after now 3 years together with your organization, I can say that we have several successful projects which we done, and but we're still learning. And what I'm actually currently doing, I would say I'm working mainly with business development and open innovations. I'm not working with any internal innovations. What was the organization doing successfully for last 30 years? So I'm the guy who's bringing the ideas, out of the organization scope and maybe sometimes out of the organization product scope. What we're producing. So I'm like bringing new businesses, bringing new business models, and not only giving those ideas, but helping to deliver those ideas to the result. So that's a long story short.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it's open innovation topic. It will be interesting to discuss it, and definitely we'll have more questions about experience with startups as well. So, but let's also ask a question for Sigita. I mean, so Startup Lithuania was always known like the flagman for the startups. I mean, bringing them, advocating for them, talking a lot about startups, helping them in different ways. And now, I mean, what I see that you're also starting to talk with corporates. So why you decided to do it now, and what are your goals there? Why you are doing it?
Okay, so hello everyone, and thanks Arvydas for inviting me to be here. Why Startup Lithuania started the Corporate Challenge project? I would say because we believe that collaboration between these two groups can boost the win-win situation. And when we are talking about the corporates and startups, we imagine that, or we make the assumptions that corporates are usually the big hierarchies with a deep pocket, but usually slow in making the decisions and change implementation, just because the business is profitable and there is no urgent need to innovate something. Also, what we see usually in the corporates, that there is a lack of innovation-driven spirit among the shareholders and C-level managers, which are usually the decision makers and are crucial if we want to start to innovate something. And while the business is running properly, so why should we innovate something? But on the other hand, at least me, myself, I really strongly believe that no one can avoid the product life cycle if anybody is familiar with this concept. So sooner or later, the client stage will come. And as the example, we have video or audio cassettes, and it was like huge innovation many years before. But what happened? CDs came onto the market, DVDs came onto the market. Now we have video and audio streaming platforms, which just outcompeted the video and audio cassettes, as well as mobile phones. We all remember like Nokia 331, the legendary phone, which was like, the wish to have for everyone. What is happening now? Almost nobody uses it because everyone has a smartphone. So as you can see, the innovations are coming and this life cycle is getting shorter and shorter. And it's, I would say, the crucial attitude to corporates to accept it, adopt it, and move forward with it. On the other hand, we have startups. And we call ourselves a national facilitator of startup ecosystems. So we are trying to do this ecosystem more favorable for startups and give more opportunities for startups to create and grow. So startups are small, flexible, very customer-oriented tech innovators. And they are usually can provide the very out-of-the-box solutions. So it might increase efficiency of or give competitive advantage for these corporates. But the startups are usually facing other problems. So they are short on cash. They really, really need a feedback. And this feedback must be not just, like as an assumption of someone, but the real feedback from the real user or customer. Only if you have a real feedback, you can move forward with in the right direction and create the right product, and also viable product for the market. And maybe last but not least, on my list of of these problems, it's also the need of network. So if startup is willing to grow, they need to network. It's a must. Today, it's a must. So if you are entering the collaboration between startups and corporates, you can merge both of them to get the benefits out of it, to satisfy the needs each other's, and increase the deployment of viable innovations on the Lithuanian market. So this is why we believe that we need that, and why we've started the Corporate Challenge project.
Okay, Sigita, very comprehensive answer. Thank you. So I see that your motivation is here from all the participants, and but usually it's all about execution when we talk about innovation. So let us jump to kind of, exact examples, maybe, and concrete initiatives which are happening. So we can start with maybe GovTech initiative. And, I would also like to kind of, if it is possible to for all of you who are speaking right now, try to imagine that, most of the audience which are listening us are startups. So, so just talk from startup perspective. Why, and what they can know. But because right now it seems that, there are two nice initiatives, and we will talk about them right now. It's GovTech and also corporate innovation. So, two nice initiatives from two organizations. So, probably for the startup, it's crucial to understand how to apply, what to do, and so on, and also how it's going on. So maybe if we start with GovTech, and you could tell us a bit more about it. So how it's working, and so Arūnė, can you tell a bit of more details? And so one is details, and another one is KPIs or results which you expect out of that initiative.
Yeah. So apart from kind of other things that are related more to like communication in events and in general, just kind of spreading the knowledge around GovTech, the main process that Ieva is participating in as well is called GovTech Challenge Series. So that's kind of a 4-stage process, and it starts with the selection of challenges from public sector institutions. So this year, we actually had 72 challenges submitted from the public sector institutions. Then once the best challenges are selected, and we select them based on the potential of innovation, the scalability of the solution, the involvement of the institution, that we see that they will participate in the activities and so on. So once they are selected, we have that open call to the market and look for teams and the ideas or already solutions that they have to solve the specific challenge. So we don't restrict it to startups. We open to any companies like academia, NGOs, anyone can apply, so that we can get as diverse as possible a range of solutions. Once the best teams and solutions are selected, then the public sector institution, the challenge owner, and then the startup or a company work together through the kind of co-create accelerator to build that first iteration of the product, or if, for example, the company already has a product, like tweaking it so that it solves actually the challenge. And then after that comes kind of the difficult part, the implementation and scaling. So seeing, if the created solution actually solves the challenge, can we, what kind of other clients can we help them find, and so on. So that's kind of the process. We are now on the second iteration of GovTech Challenge Series. So last year, when we just started creating the GovTech Lab, we decided that even before it officially launched or we officially have a team, we need to start piloting this process, because if we're preaching experimentation and piloting solutions, we need to pilot it as well before it's fully functional. So we started the pilot GovTech Challenge Series last year in midsummer, and we had 3 challenges. 2 of them failed because we just didn't know what kind of challenges to select. But then the one that we did with the Bank of Lithuania, they actually had a solution build, a prototype of how to share data between financial market participants and the Bank of Lithuania, so between the regulator, so that they don't need to do some reporting like additionally, but some of the data can be shared specifically. And now they're kind of working on with other market participants if they would use such tool, and then they deciding on the next steps. this year we grew from 3 to 1 challenges to 10. So that kind of shows, I think, that there is an interest from public sector organizations. We actually had also 70 kind of solutions submitted to those 10 challenges. So it's interesting that the number is the same as the public sector and private sector. So we aim to do this 2 series twice a year and do like 10 challenges each. I mean, of course, we hope that all of those challenges will be solved and, we'll have successful products for that. But we still think that, around 20% at least will fail. So, I mean, that's kind of, if we would expect 100% success, we would not take challenges that are actually innovative, right? That would limit us in terms of how much we can push the boundaries. So that's kind of, the whole process. Our goal is to give that kind of first lift in terms of showing, as Sigita was mentioning very well, the feedback and, the first feedback to the first ideas, to the first product that they have. And then, so that's together with public sector institutions. And then after it's done, we as a team, try and help them find other clients, other institutions, maybe like products that are a bit different, like challenges that are a bit different, but the same product can solve them both. So then that's kind of our goal after that. That's quickly it.
Just one maybe extra question here. I mean, so it's more or less, as I understand, early stage startups. So the ones who don't have a product yet, but kind of have ideas or launching, or I understand this incorrectly.
It's actually varies a lot from challenge to challenge. So for some, we already have very well established IT companies, and for others, we have like teams that are just starting to work on the challenge. I think because the challenges are so different, that kind of also proposes, that different teams solve them. And I mean, that's one of our challenges of working through Accelerator, to matching the needs of those very, very different stage teams. But that's not restricted to any of the kind of stage, because for some challenges, maybe some solutions already exist in the market, but they're like so expensive and like so based on some legacy systems that no one else would be able to use it, or no one in Lithuania would be able to afford to buy them. So then, that's where kind of we look for more innovative, maybe solutions that might not be built yet, but, the team has a potential. So that's, definitely varies.
Okay, thank you. And now, Sigita, different initiative. So, the most interesting probably part is to understand how these two initiatives differs. I mean, are they the same? It's just for public and private sector. That's why the difference, or some other differences as well. So can you comment, Sigita, on that one and give some, more brief understanding on your initiative?
Okay, so I would say that there are few differences because, for example, of course, first and most important one or most significant one, because we are dealing with completely different sectors, because private sectors don't have such the obstacles to implement the purchase agreement or something like that if we would compare with the public sector, because public sector has this public procurement agreements and so on and so forth. These procedures are quite difficult to manage, and corporates are most of time quite free. Only there is the must to have this belief in the startup and to have the match in the product and corporate needs. On the other hand, these challenges differs in the, I would say, implementation, because we take one corporate by one, we are announcing one challenge by one, and we are doing it kind of very corporate oriented, not talking about the, like bunch of corporate of challenges at the same time, but one challenge at the one time. So I would say these are basic differences. Of course, each corporate comes with his own challenge and his own complexity, and also with some requirements as well. So, for example, sometimes corporates can come with the, attitude that we are inviting the ideas as well. and some corporates would like to start with the MVPs and later stage startups. So there are some differences, but they are not so significant as it might seem from the third party eyes.
Mm-hmm. And how you are measuring this, or you will measure the success, Sigita? I mean, so what will be a successful program versus maybe not so successful?
Okay, so this year's is a pilot project, so we don't have any experience in doing this kind of merging or collaborating startups and corporates. So I would say that if we will have few challenges which are coming to an end and having maybe some intent agreements of purchasing later on when the product is coming to till the stage X or something, I would say that it will be the successful project. Of course, the total failure it would be if we won't have any corporate taking part in this project. It's the first thing. And of course, if any matches between corporates and startups will happen, it will be also a lesson learned, what was wrong and what should be done differently if we want to boost this collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. And now, quite a related, I would say, also question for companies we have here. So let's start with you, Paulius. So what type of startups you are looking at? I mean, in terms of stage, in terms of team, in terms of product. So, it's always, at least for me, I mean, it's always interesting question. And usually when we talk with startups, we are also wondering, okay, so when I can start talking with corporates? I mean, do I need to grow first of all, or I can come with idea? Do I need to have a team, funding, and so on? So Paulius, can you elaborate on this one?
Yes, sure. So, we're looking for startups at different stages. I mean, when you say startup, for me personally, it's an early stage company who has some kind of pilot which are planning to test, and they need a partner who has a know-how to help test their product. So these are the type of the companies that we have been working already, and we were piloting several startups before. Of course, we're looking, for potential synergies with the companies who already have some market, who are already big companies. So, we're open for different type of startups. However, specifically, we're looking to those to which we can contribute our know-how, network, infrastructure, or capital. So, we're working in agri-food tech scope. So we're looking for the companies who could, bring robotic solutions or innovative ingredients. Agri-food, agriculture, and food production. Like the whole supply chain. It includes retail. It includes ingredients and etc. So yeah.
So it's not only software solution. Like sometimes people are thinking that startups are just programming, doing nothing else. So it's not the way, yeah? You are thinking about startups.
Well, definitely not. One example, one of my projects lately is we're launching a plant-based meat in Lithuania, and plant-based, or let's say cellular meat, which are grown in a laboratory. It is said that is the sexiest startups in Silicon Valley currently. For instance, Memphis Meat. I don't know, maybe you heard of this company. Mm-hmm. So it shouldn't be only a software. It can be food. It can be a hardware. It can be, definitely not only a software.
Okay. So yeah, all the startups who are listening. So you see Paulius and Vikonda Group, if you're doing something similar, so, that's a contact you have. And for you, Ieva, that's, how you feel, what kind of startups you are looking for, and in terms as well of stage, of team and funding and so on.
I think we should start maybe from just a bit different angle. It's not what kind of startups. I think it depends on the specific challenge what we have. For example, in this series, which we are being quite a lot engaged right now, as Arūnė said, in this 10 weeks long accelerator, which means quite a lot of work. But how we decided to participate is that when the first GovTech series was launched, I had the possibility to watch the final event, the demo day, and I really liked the idea itself. How the idea that you can really try to find the ways for startups or for even not just startups, for companies to work with public institutions, not just via usual public procurement structure, which is known, but of course it's very formalized and it's quite limited. But to try to get out of this usual client and company relation and to see if some different match can be made. So when I saw that new challenges are being called to be announced, so I just gathered my colleagues from different departments, and we had some brainstorming session trying to think what are the areas in which we could put challenges. And lots of the areas in which we have some problems or some needs, they are not fit for this format, because usually, you have to, let's say, you have to collect the data about something, additional data. So you know that you would need some information system or some part of a new part or some existing information system. You just put some requests, you put public procurement. But we really managed to find two challenges which we felt are worth to try to put for this series. One is about finding the illegal content online. First of all, children sexual abuse content, because we as RRT, we are internet hotline where people can report any illegal content when they find browsing online. And when we have experts who are analyzing this data, and if it is illegal content, then it is passed to the institution responsible for that. But we really felt that putting some automatization to the process, for example, based on some AI solution, could be a great idea. And this became one of our challenges that we put. And then we were absolutely open what kind of startups or what companies come. But as it is a new challenge, we had quite a lot of interest. By the way, we have 7 different ideas submitted for our challenge. It wasn't so easy to select the best. But really what we were looking at that stage was how these companies or startups are ready to collaborate with us in developing something that could become a new interesting product in the future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Quite a comprehensive answer as well. So we have some more updates, but maybe just also to ask other people. One more thing I'm thinking right now from a startup perspective, I mean, and everyone can answer, probably it's more a question, I would say, for Sigita and also Arūnė, but maybe others also can complement here. So, as a startup, especially in early stage, when you can choose or think about either to go to public sector or try to do something in private sector. So, what do you think? How to choose? I mean, what are the criteria? Which path to go? So for the startups who are kind of listening this kind of podcast, this conversation and thinking, okay, I'm inspired, I want to do something, but just let me choose. So can someone elaborate?
Okay, so I will start with elaboration of this topic. I would say that if you have experience with the public sector and you know the tiny details of how everything is going on, and you have the patience to go through all this quite limited procedure, you can start with. But if we are talking about like very, very fresh teams which have no clue how the public sector is working, I think they should choose corporates or private sector, but still they should keep in mind that, they are on completely different levels of thinking, of attitudes, of, pace of their growth and so on and so forth. So these expectations and these different levels has to be a little bit, matched between themselves if we want to have the result, the real result.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sigita, maybe Arūnė, you can add something here.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things as well. I think for some of the challenges or solutions, you don't need to choose. Especially some of the internal processes for the corporates and for public sector institutions are similar. So if you're talking about internal, some process automation or document flows within the organization, that could be applied in both contexts. So I think, if you have these kind of products, then, it's up to you. Of course, then maybe it's a bit easier to start with some smaller corporates, have a check from them that it works, and then go to public sector institutions. But I think that also depends on the motivation why you're creating a startup, right? So if you're someone, I think especially now, increasingly more teams have that passion. They want to not just create a business, but solve some challenge, social challenge. And I think for public sector provides that opportunity, because a lot of challenges that you can find there, you can't find them in the private sector, especially some around healthcare or solving social, in social sphere. If you want to, I would not suggest to start a startup and create a new tax kind of collection system. That might be a bit too difficult. But these are areas where it's a bit more unique in terms of that you don't find it in the more corporate side. But I think also it depends on, as I think Sigita mentioned, at which level you are, so that you adequately choose who to cooperate with. Because if you are a small startup at the very early stage, and then you decide that you want to participate in the public procurement to create a new tax collection system, I doubt you will win. And then that might kind of then reduce your motivation into creating these kind of solutions. But I think choosing adequately, maybe that someone the institution is not even buying the solution yet, but you see that there's a problem and you can pitch it to them, and then maybe they will see it that, okay, yeah, actually this exists, maybe we should test that. Or just looking for smaller procurements that are that don't have any of these qualification requirements, where you can show what you can do. I think choosing adequately and not just on your first contract stepping into these huge procurements, that would just you would not win, but also that might limit your kind of desire to focus more in that field as well.
Okay. And, based on that discussion, I would add a bit one angle here and would ask Ieva now. I think that both your challenges, for you, Ieva, and for you, Paulius, probably we can elaborate that can be a combination also, and partnership between public and private sector, especially in your case, Ieva, because I kind of, know myself. We had one kind of discussion with private institution as well. A very similar topic actually as well. It was fake news topic, but still kind of similar probably in some kind of things with the topic you said. So what are the, are you partnership as well? Do you have partnerships with private sector or you don't? And then can startup, if it comes to you, can it benefit also to be moved to also private sector? What's the situation here?
So if we talk about this one particular example that I already mentioned, it is the automated identification of illegal internet content, online content. So yes, we, as I said, we are the so-called hotline for which this illegal content is being reported. And as well, we are responsible for supervision of this area in Lithuania. So yes, we are cooperating with hosting services providers, for example, and we as well have some powers, for example, to order them to take some content which is illegal and so on. But usually it's not necessary. Usually it's enough to identify for them, but this content is illegal. This has to be taken down. As well, we are cooperating a lot with other hotlines in other countries, being a part of so-called InHope network, because as we all know very well, the internet has no boundaries, no national borders, and so we have to have a very clear network in every country, being able to exchange. So yes, we are working with hosting providers, not from this point, but being very strict. Sometimes it's necessary, but usually it's a better way to cooperate is to talk with people, and we do that. And we, from time to time, we have meetings with them to discuss the best practices. We have initiated a memorandum of hosting services providers so that we could share the best practice and to collaborate on that. But talking about this particular challenge, what we see, what would be a very, very good attitude of a company which we are now collaborating with, this startup, because they came with very good attitude. They said, we want to give something to society. We see this as a social problem. Identifying of children sexual abuse material online is a very, very painful problem. So we want to put our technical knowledge to that and to do some product which could be used not just in Lithuania, but for other hotlines all over the world. Why not? So that's why we as experts are really interested to dedicate our time, our expertise, our knowledge of a process. So, and hopefully when both sides have this positive mindset, I think the good results can be really reached.
Okay. And Paulius, what about cooperation and no, in Vikonda's case?
Well, firstly, I just want to add to the previous question that, I mean, yeah, we're looking for different stage startups, just to make sure, we're looking to those ones who could help us. We're not looking for cool things to have, there is no time for corporates to have cool things. And we're looking for those things that you can be more effective, efficient, that you could help. You can bring more like additional revenue streams or help increase added value to what you're doing. I mean, whether you're a service or a producer. So yeah. And could you repeat the question? Yeah.
The question was about food industry as well. I would say it's interconnected, public and private sector. I mean, there are probably companies in both areas. So how do you see good startups creating something for you or for public sector benefit for both organizations? Or you think that it should be only startups should decide that, either I'm going for public or for private sector? What's your attitude towards that question?
Well, firstly, I mean, we as an organization, we're looking for ideas, and one of our missions is giving value and add value to the public. I mean, to the society, because we are one of the biggest, one of the major producers in our region, and I mean, we're one of the biggest producers in most of the categories what we produce. So, I mean, we understand that what we're doing, it's really, how to say, it touches the society. So definitely, I mean, we're looking, the startup will have a win-win situation if the corporate, I mean, it depends on what corporate is looking for. In our case, we're looking for those solutions that would not only help us benefit, but of course the consumer and the society. So, but I think it really depends on the corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. And maybe, next question from the startup world as well. We hear lots of like challenges today from your side, and challenges and problems and some kind of, other situations. But I'm just thinking, if I'm a startup, so, and I'm thinking about B2B business, either it's B2B or B2G, business to business or business to government. So, what I need to do to know, these challenges. What's the procedure? Do I need to kind of, go and knock the door to Vikonda and say, okay, hi, I know that Paulius is working here, so please let me in, or I need to search for Ieva, or I need to kind of go online and search for something. So what's kind of your opinion here? Do startups need just to wait until someone will knock to their door, or we need to be proactive and somehow find your initiatives? And maybe not talking not only about your organizations here, but overall how to build these B2B partnerships if you're a startup. So, who wants to start? I think it's a relevant question for everyone.
I can start here. I think for now, like up to now, what we try to do is more focus on that like challenge based, just because of course we have limited capacity, and we try to like advertise and kind of communicate about these challenges as much as possible, so that we can both attract startups from abroad and just also Googling and like contacting hundreds of startups to just let this is happening and we see that your solution is a bit similar. Please come and join us. But also, I think that the fact that you mentioned from the startup side to the public sector, we are looking at ways on how to create more like a process of how to like filter, because of course there are a lot of startups, and for example, we as GovTech Lab, we don't want to be just like collecting all of them and just just pushing to the public sector and saying, okay, all these contacts from different institutions, just go and contact them. We want to add value as well in terms of helping select the ones that actually have potential, and then building that kind of connection. And but like up to now, we didn't really have the capacity for that in the team, but we're actually looking for an extra team member that could work on setting up that process more if you're a startup and you're looking to test your solution in the public sector, or you want to like demo it and so on, so we can have more like valid and not ad hoc process as we kind of do now. But we would still invite, if anyone had like GovTech products, just contact us. And we always try to help as much as we can at that moment in finding the right clients or like the right organizations.
So they can just write you, yeah, and you will.
Yeah.
You will not ignore them, as I understand. So that's nice. Thank you. And Sigita, maybe you can comment here as well.
Yeah. So there are two ways how startups are coming onto the scene. So sometimes someone is leading the corporate and starting to develop his own, her own product. And then the situation is usually that he or she already knows the exact problem of the exact corporate. And once you are starting to elaborate on this exact problem, you are starting to realize that it's not the problem only of this exact corporate, and you can then just build, the target audience description or lean persona, as we call it. What to do then? Of course, still all these stages as the market validation, the idea validation, and the product validation must be done. But what is most important in this part? So you should just approach the potential customers which might have this exact problem. How to do that? I would say, so the proactiveness is a must in this case, and you can use any tool or mean to do that. For example, LinkedIn is an amazing tool to reach out to the business people, as well as social media, as well as your friends, because your friends are usually know other people and other representatives of one or another corporate. So I would say, know the problem, know who is your target customer, and then be really proactive if you want to get the feedback, because I would say that if you are early stage startup, no one will come and knock onto your door.
Okay, and Paulius, so how the startups maybe are knocking on your door, or maybe you can give some advices how to approach you or as an organization, and maybe other organizations as well.
Well, I totally agree with Sigita that you have to be proactive, and everyone is welcome. Add me on LinkedIn, share your ideas. We're open, and we can discuss. Of course, on the other hand, I think that in Lithuania, the majority of corporates are not really open. Because the whole innovation culture is just it's just a cool word, but corporates speak a lot about that, but they don't act. I was mentioning open innovation, and saying open innovation for me is like a mindset of being open to share information and being open as a corporate. So I think that corporates has to be more open in order to attract startups. Furthermore, Startup Lithuania is, I think, a good example with the project that there should be also a middle person who would help to connect startups and government companies. It would be the easiest thing, but definitely I think the core problem is that the corporates has to communicate that they are open and they're open for their ideas. There is a mindset of corporates that there was previously a mindset that you have to own the majority of shares at the company, and most of the corporates are looking at the startups as another SKU, another product, and maybe potentially a company that they can own, or they want to control the company. But I think that the mindset should be that companies should look at the startups as a synergies, as a potential partner, which could benefit each other and which could help to grow each other. So I think that's the core thing, why and how to.
Yeah, it's a music to my ears as well. We are talking with many corporates, and yeah, we had also conversations with you as well previously, and yeah, and probably one of the last questions, and maybe even the last, let's see how we will use the time, but would be just to speak about that perspective. How to make our corporates more open, in both public and private sector, to be able to kind of, have more of these initiatives, and then to know that startups are welcome to kind of create this open innovation. And so maybe we can even start with you, Paulius, because you started that kind of. So do you think that companies need to have this, head of innovation role, and when it could roll out, or, what do you think the recipe of becoming an open? If some CEOs are watching us and thinking, okay, I want to be open, I want to start it, so, what's the magic here?
I think the whole magic, there is no magic. There is everything is behind the owner, and I think everything starts. The mindset starts from the owner. So if the owner is open for that, the company will be open. In our case, the chairwoman Jolanta and our CEO Mindaugas is really open to these kind of things, and that's why I'm working here. So I don't think that every company has to have an innovation position, and only maybe big companies can able to have a department or a specific position for that. But maybe some like technical people, commercial people can also be those ones who bring those innovations. So I think that's not about the position, the department. It's about the company culture, and the culture starts from the owner, from judging from my experience.
Okay, thank you. Ieva, can you comment on that one? So because the owner of public sector, probably it's us, everyone. So what is happening in public sector? What's most important there?
I think we touched a bit on that already, but usually when you have to acquire anything for public sector, you have to go through quite clearly defined and strict procedures of public procurement, which is fine, of course, because, it's clear why these are set like this. But on the other hand, it can really be some problem for small startups, for example, to come, because usually when you buy especially some technological things, some more complex project, there are some requirements about the, for example, experience in the field, about previous projects, and so on. Of course, startups can come in consortiums with other companies and be part of bigger projects, which is a perfectly good solution, I think, especially when doing something big and acquiring the new experience and doing the part. But that's the situation that we have now is one of the reasons why, for example, we joined this GovTech challenge, because now we are going like a step-by-step for a process. But what we really expect is not just developing some interesting products that could be used here in Lithuania or abroad, but as well to be able in the future maybe to pioneer some more innovative things, how to purchase. For example, it's still in the framework of public procurement, but testing some more innovative methods. That, of course, could open maybe more doors and not just be working with very traditional way, but in the more innovative. How it will go, we will see, but we would really be part of that game.
Okay. Paulius, you said that you want to add something on, yeah?
Yeah, I just thought about one idea that the success recipe could be for us, for Lithuania, is it's for the, private sector and for public sector as well, is to share those success stories, because I know and I believe that and private sector and public sector has the success stories, those successful synergies between startups, government and businesses, because when you share those, more and more corporates will join, and I think it will be easier also for public sector to give more information, more space for startups. So I think we're missing noise of successful stories that we can follow.
Okay. Yeah, good idea as well. So, and Arūnė, can you add also on that one, on this question about, how to make our landscape of companies, public companies, especially in your case, more innovative?
I think looking specifically at the public sector, of course, we have very low kind of risk tolerance, and that's correct approach for some of the challenges, because if you're talking about distributing like some benefits to the unemployed, of course you have to have very rigid system, and you cannot just when you think of it, just try to change, like introduce some startup that can run all the system. But I think introducing these different levels of risks to different processes where you decide kind of, okay, these are kind of the essential processes that we cannot simply innovate on. We need to think through more. It might be longer projects, but then you have areas where it's safer to innovate. Of course, it's never going to be safe, because that's not innovation if it's very safe, but safer, so that people that are working in those fields, they trust in the process of looking for those innovative solutions. Because of course you will never look for innovative solutions if you're just thinking that someone will come and kind of punish you for not going through traditional methods. So I think kind of trying to find and maybe even officially decide which are the areas where you can test a bit more, like have these kind of sandboxes within the public sector where it's more open and more safe to innovate without compromising the essential services that the public sector provides.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Sigita, what's your...
Well, since we run this project, Corporate Challenge, I would say completely from my perspective that, first of all, we need to be really very, very, kind of stubborn and consistent. Because what we see, it's quite difficult to convince one or another corporate to come into the project and work with us. So the consistency and somehow not lose the motivation to go to next corporate. And I completely agree with Paulius that if we would have more success stories, and if we would raise the awareness about these success stories, it would be at least the start or the first step into the boosting these collaborations in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So I see that our time is ending up, and I hope that this discussion was quite interesting for everyone who watched it. Actually, I see that we talked a lot about both for startups and corporates. So I hope that startups now saw some good initiatives they can join, and corporates also saw a way to start this kind of discussions. There are some also players there as Invest Lithuania and Startup Lithuania, GovTech, so you can go and talk with them as well. And both startups and corporates are welcome there as well. Ieva and Paulius also said that, they are open for all ideas and so on. So that's also very, 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 very important, I guess. And, as I also have an opportunity here, I will announce another thing, another program, more even opportunities for startups, I would say, because we are also introducing together with Rocket Impact Accelerator next year. We already started to scout for the startups who are working in B2B area and want to increase their impact in various sustainability-related areas such as energy, infrastructure, manufacturing, production, or consumption. So if everyone is interested to learn more, please contact me. And that's it probably today. So I would, thank you for all panelists, and see you next time. And thank you for watching us.